So we're just doing a little quiz today on easy ones, and this is supposed to be one of the easy ones. That gets distributed, and you get negative 3x. Remind me later to change it back to present because I marked you absent. Plus x to the fourth. And this, I said you could just drop these parentheses here because there's nothing distributing in, and I can't add these two because they're not like terms. 2x to the fourth plus 5x. Now, all of those, you just find the like terms and you put them together like that, and that makes 3x to the fourth minus 3x plus 5. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Uh-oh, what did I do wrong? I might have done something wrong. What's the, oh, okay, there was a 5x right here, and I just wrote a 5, thank you very much. That is a 5x, so then that changes everything. Sorry about that. Going too fast. All right, so now I bring that down, and the 5x and the 3x will go together. Okay, so that's more like it. So 2x and 1x and 5 minus 3 is, I'm determined not to make another mistake, so I'm going to double check it. 2x squared plus 3x to the fourth, and then now I think I'm right. Who has that? All right, good. Now, could you do that? That's like one of the easiest things. And if you're just being honest with yourself and I wouldn't have got that right, you're about to fail the test that we take on, well, it's been moved. Instead of Thursday, it's going to be Friday of this week. It gives us a little bit more time to be completely ready. But that should have been an easy one. So what do you do if that's not easy for you? Well, you should come in and get some help. This morning was a good time, Tuesday mornings or Thursday mornings. Now, the good thing about moving this test, you have 2 mornings you could get help, Tuesday and Thursday. So you could come in. All right, here's another one that is not just add and subtracting them. This is multiplying them. 2x to the third plus 2 times x squared minus 1. Would you please multiply this out? In case you forgot, it's like this kind of a thing. So these are polynomials, and a second ago we just added and subtracted them. This is multiplying them. And yesterday we divided them. I decided not to put divide on this little quiz today. All right. Did you have 2 times the x squared makes 2x squared? 2 times the negative 1 makes negative 2. This 2x to the third here times x squared is probably one of the trickier ones. And that's positive because they're both positive. 2 because there was no other number besides maybe a 1 here. X to the fifth. If you don't know, you add the powers on that kind. All right? And then 2x to the third times the negative 1. 2x to the third, anything anytime you multiply by negative 1, you just change the sign of the thing. So it's minus 2x to the third. It's the same as it was, it's just that it's now negative because I times it by negative 1. All right, now I just have to find like terms and add them together. This is a weird one. There's no like terms. So could a kid leave this as their answer then if there's no like terms? No, because it's not in standard form. This one has to be first because it's like the general, 5-star general. 2x to the fifth. It's the boss. The next one over is going to be this one, minus 2x to the third. The next one is this one, plus 2x squared. And the last one is minus 2. If you're like, it's the only one that doesn't have a variable. Well, you could think of it as having an x to the 0 on it. X to the 0 is equal to 1. I'm just saying, it even follows that pattern. It's got the lowest degree on the x. All right, there you go. Just trying to get a feeling. How many of you got that one right? Raise your hand if you did. Okay, good. So That's add, subtract, multiply. Now, this is not on your quiz, but I just want to see if you get it yet. Try long dividing. That. Because see, we just did add and subtract, multiply, and this is divide. Not putting this on your quiz because you only learned it yesterday. Now, I know there's going to be some people that are just stumped right away. Could somebody tell me, what did I say to always start with on the top? Yes. X. If I put an X up there, it'll be a good start. And then you go, okay, this times this, x squared, and hey, that actually matches up perfect. If it didn't, like if I needed a bigger power, maybe I'd make it an x to the second up there. All right, but it worked because it matched this. These are the same. Then I go this times this, minus 1x. Draw the line longer than you would think. Did you remember to do opposite and opposite? So that becomes positive 1x. A ton of kids forget that. Then this became negative 2x. Bring this down, plus 2. If this factors, which it does, then you know it's probably going to work. So then what do I put here? Minus 2. Because then minus 2 times the x will make minus 2x. And then minus 2 times the minus 1 makes plus 2. Drawing the line, make these opposite and opposite so that this cancels this and that cancels that and leaves a 0 remainder. That's called the quotient. That's called the remainder. So there's a quick reminder of how to long divide. I know that was hard. Anybody that missed yesterday, you probably didn't get that right. You're going to want to watch that video. There was like 5 of you gone yesterday. I record a video every single day. You're going to want to watch that. It took me about a half hour to make sure everybody understood that. So don't expect that you've got it because you did one problem with me right now. You want to watch that video from yesterday if you were gone. Okay, the next thing is we did add, subtract, multiply, divide. Jeez, I can't think. I'm going to go look at my little quiz I'm going to give you in a second and see what else. Oh, yeah, evaluating polynomials. What that just means is sticking a number in them. So here, write this one down. X squared minus x minus 1. And then you'll usually label it with f of x. That means it's a function, and f of x is like y. And then, if I said f of negative 3, would you know what to do? Don't overthink this. That's where the x was. Effectively, I'm just saying x is negative 3. Now, I can tell by looking at just a couple papers that some people know that you have to have parentheses and some people don't. You have to have parentheses. Not because I want it to have parentheses, but because if you type this in your calculator with the parentheses and you type it in without the parentheses, the person who types it in with the parentheses wins. You get it right because it'll be different if you don't have the parentheses. Like seriously, if you just have the same exact thing without the parentheses, it's this one that would be different. And the parenthesis wins. It's going to be a different answer. This one's negative, this one's positive, so obviously the answers will be different. So do it with the parentheses. All right, did you get, this comes out to positive 9, which if it didn't have parentheses, it would be negative 9. Try it on the calculator. One's with parentheses, one's without. And this is plus 3, and this is minus 1. And that's 12 minus 1, which is 11. Raise your hand if you had 11. Okay, awesome. That should have been easy. That's just sticking a number in. The next thing is plain old-fashioned factoring, but the grouping kind. X to the third plus 5x squared plus x plus 5. Actually, let's do something a little different. Sorry. Let's make it 2x plus 10. 2x plus 10. There. Then you got the red part and the black part. Factor them separately. I gave the example of a good general tries to get all of his attention on just half the army and take that out with all of your army. So just do half of it at a time. Dice of Destiny have chosen Joe. 6 and 6. Only comes up once out of 36 rolls.
I got,
Did you get x squared first right there?
yeah,
And then what'd you put?
then I put x plus 5.
Perfect so far. Let's get a different person to chime in on the next part. This is row 2, person 2. Chase, that's you. How do you factor this part? Yep, and then you get, and notice that they're the same, and that's the key to the next part. Oh my gosh, 6, 6 again. I got to obey the dice. Joe, back to you.
You can merge them together, so then one parentheses is x squared plus 2.
You're right, but I like to do this one first. Here's why. It's not wrong what you were doing, but do you get that that's the GCF? That's the common factor, so I put it in front. And then I do what you said, the x squared plus 2. So you weren't wrong. I'm just doing it in a different order. Because I think always putting the GCF to the front is what we do on all the other problems. So that's what I do. Had it been reversed, I would have still given you the points if that had been back there. Raise your hand if you had that one right. It's called factor by grouping. Okay, awesome. Then what I want to do is, before I hand this quiz up, that's the end of what's on the quiz. If you're good at that so far, that's what's going to be on the quiz. But before I do that, I want to tell you about the new stuff, because some of you are going to finish this quiz in 5 minutes, and then you're like ready to just be done and do your homework. So I'm going to go a little further. This stuff is not on the quiz because it's new. This stuff is just saying, okay, you learned how to long divide. Can you understand that once you have long divided, let me show you something. That once you're done long dividing and you did all this work in here, you know, and then you got these two, what's that one I just circled in black called again? The quotient. Do you get that now times that is the factored problem? That's what you're doing when you're doing long dividing, is you're finding the factors. And the only catch is that, sure, you factored it. It now looks like this. Do you get you can factor it again? Which of those two actually factors again? Yeah, because it's x plus 5 and x minus 5. And this one just comes down. So it's just a reminder that when you're doing long division, you are factoring it into this times this. And once you've got it factored into that times that, don't make there's two classic mistakes people make on factoring is they don't notice the GCF or they don't factor it all the way. See, if you'd have left it like that, you'd have lost. I have to mark it wrong because it isn't factored all the way. All right, and then the last thing is, do you know what the answers are? X equals negative 5 is an answer because it'll make this whole thing equal 0. X equals negative 5 works in this one too. Sometimes it's a double. It's the same thing twice. You don't have to really list it twice. And then this one would be x equals regular 5. Do you get those are called the solutions? All right. And so, do you remember we did this like 2 days ago? That if you had something like this, to find the solutions, it's already been factored. It's factored all the way because this can't be factored anymore. The only way it would work is if that was like a 9 and that was like a minus. Then you would have been able to factor it more. But it's done factoring. Would you have been able to go x minus 7 equals 0, so x equals 7. Yay, I solved the first part. That was easy. And this part, do you remember these? X squared plus 5 equals 0. Minus 5, x squared equals negative 5. Remember me doing these the other day? Square root, absolute value of x, I root 5. Two answers, x equals I root 5, and x equals negative I root 5. If you understand that, that's as far as this test goes. Like, if you can get what I just did, I know I did it really fast, you'll use polynomial long division to factor it, and then you've got to be able to factor it again. Like, and then you got to be able to solve these like that equaling 0. Now, I'm not sure everybody's ready for that yet, so I want to do one last practice. Would you please solve this? Wait. And find the solutions. Set this equal to 0, set that equal to 0. If you can factor it, you should. It's way faster. See if you remember how to solve those. For some of you, this is too much. I understand. If you're one of the kids that's just praying you're going to pass this test, you probably will not be able to do this. Okay, this first one was a trick question. Did you notice that you could factor it into x plus 6 and x minus 6? You didn't have to, but if you did, you'd get the answer super fast. X equals negative 6 and x equals 6. You could have got that the other way, but this is the fast way. On this one, x squared plus 5 equals 0. X squared equals negative 5. Square root. Absolute value, I root 5. That right there is the hardest step. You can do that, you're golden. Because from there, most kids can split these into two equations. X is I root 5, and x is I root 5 again, and you'll be smart enough to know that's not logically. You have to have different, oh yeah, that one's negative. There's my final answers. Those are imaginary answers. Those are real answers. Okay. Now I've covered absolutely everything that could be on the test. And now the cool part is we have Wednesday and Thursday to practice. We probably didn't even need that extra day, but I'm trying to help you have a really good score for your very first test. Like, we're taking an extra review day because 2 of the other teachers are doing this too. So there's like 6 higher algebra teachers. And like 3 of us are testing on Friday and 3 of us are testing on Thursday. Okay, so don't feel like we're behind. We're not. Just taking an extra day to make sure. I'm throwing in an extra little quiz today. Maybe I can find who's really struggling silently and I can't tell. And we'll take this little quiz, and then we'll do a whole practice test tomorrow. Hopefully you'll be able to rock your first test this semester on Friday. All right, that's all I got for you for today.